Hello everybody, welcome back. Unversed podcast, Danny here, and today we're talking about Teppu. So this manga is written and drawn by Morare Ota. This ran from 2008 to 2015, and 7 years of publication, which, to my surprise, that's really long, mainly because there was only 8 volumes of this manga, which should be 30. Let me double check here. Yeah, 33 chapters. I kind of figured it was monthly, but to see it going for 8 years, it says here it was from the Good Afternoon manga magazine from Kodansha. This is more of their seinen side of things. And let's see. It's typically around 25 stories each, but I want to know when this runs. Frequency says monthly. Okay. Which kind of makes a little more sense now, because when I saw, I was reading and it said here's chapter 7, 1 month anniversary for Teppu, and I was like, huh? Wow, that's only 7 chapters in 1 year. So this looks like every other month. It skips around, I guess, for it to last this long. But regardless, it is it's a manga about MMA, mainly for the ladies, right? Our main character, Natsuo, freshman in high school. She's super tall, which right off the bat, let me just say, she's really not that tall. Once we see her height, she's not in the 6-foot range, but they make her look so gigantic in this, and sure, I guess it's Japan does not have, a lot of tall people, so I can understand that aspect. But man, I was like, wow, she's only 5, what was it, maybe 10, which I guess for a freshman girl is tall in Japan. But she's towering over people, and I was like, okay, maybe this is a little too much. But it goes with her character and her personality, so I'll give that a pass. She's on the volleyball team, right, when we see her, and she's she's a freshman, but she's already a starter because she's very skilled at the sport. And comes to find out, she also used to do karate, right? That was a thing at one point for her. And one day we see a new transfer student and is asking around for people to join her MMA club. And Natsuo's like, this seems interesting, why not? And then this is where we see her personality, right? She has more of a sadistic side to her, where she just wants to crush people that work hard or is having fun with whatever they're doing physically, where she feels she's superior. Because as we find out, when she did karate, she didn't really do it that long, but she surpassed her best friend that was in that karate club or whatever, and now they have beef with each other. And I believe, very early on, she also whoops her and another high-ranking people in the karate club. And even to the point where she looks at the club and is like, man, you guys are too weak. This is boring, But she gets whooped by this MMA girl, essentially. Maybe because she's rusty, because she hasn't fought in a while, is what her process is going through. And she decides to go look into this further and eventually joins this gym that's near her place, where they have MMA classes. And actually a, potential world competitor is there, this other woman who does MMA professionally. And that's where we kind of kick things off. Mainly Natsuo is studying MMA just to destroy this girl because she doesn't like her and what she represents or whatever. And I like it. It's interesting. The art style I like as well. It says 2008 when it was published, but I do get some sort of mid to late 90s vibe, you know what I'm saying? With, the big three, for example, One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. They sort of had these, sure, every art style is distinct, but they also had this look to them, right? big heads, sort of angular towards the chin, the way the eyes are drawn, this manga also has that kind of distinct art style with it, which is pretty refreshing. And I always thought, I'm like, yeah, this feels like it feels old just by how it looks, but I appreciate the art style. And it's also one of those mangas where it does explain, what the techniques are going for. So in a sense, it is a sports manga like that. But as I said, only 33 chapters, because it decides we're going to end this manga when our main characters resolve, when she's resolved of whatever conflict she has, which is trying to fight this girl that just transferred and wants to beat her. Not Ringy. Ringy's the girl's friend. I'm escaping the name. Well, I'll look it up. But yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting to see where it ends as well. As I'm reading the chapters and I'm seeing how many's left, I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. I understand what they're trying to do here. The girl she wants to fight, his name is Yusuko. And basically all Natsuo wants to do is just whoop her, right? So she's just training in MMA. Only for, I think the time lapse here is just like a few months, nothing too crazy. And easily this could have been a way longer manga. Hell, this still could have been going now, right? And I figured, okay, that's kind of a smart play, because maybe this is all the mangaka wanted to do. Is like, I just want to tell this simple story about MMA, kind of want to get it out there as it's addressed in the manga. It's not very well known in Japan, so I can understand that aspect. And then at the same time, like, well, if I did want to keep this manga going, like, how many more chapters would I have to write? Because where it ends, like, the resolution is, Natsuo finally fights this person in the tournament, right? They both make it to the finals, and Natsuo ends up losing, right? Because Natsuo hasn't even been training, like 6 months, not even a year of MMA, whereas Yuzuko, she's been training since she was a little kid. We even got a backstory with her. That's another interesting about this manga. We kind of get a lot of backstory for characters, which is surprising, especially with Natsuo. Her background, I was not expecting, right? Like, for her personality and this thing about her brother, and really why she hates people that try so hard, right? But anyways, where was I going? Yeah, so she ends up losing in this tournament, and she just decides, well, I'm just gonna keep training. She's gonna be, which is in a sense a surprise, because pretty much the way this character Natsuo is, she doesn't really commit to anything, right? She'll just do something to prove a point and ends up leaving. That's why she was so disinterested in volleyball, and why she had no problem quitting in the manga. Why she doesn't really care about practicing karate anymore, and why she really didn't care about MMA that much, right? I think she even mentioned it in the manga, that she was gonna stop once this tournament was over. We had other characters were thinking that as well, but no, she showed back up, and this is actually something that she really wants to do, which is a big step for a character. Still has the same personality, which, she'll eventually grow into. But that's the thing. If we wanted to see more of that, who knows how many more chapters we would need for this manga to feel complete. It is a little jarring to see Teppu end so short after one tournament arc, but at the same time, I understand why you stop here. Because if you don't stop here, when are you going to stop? It's essentially, I think the only thing I could see this going through is a Hajime no Ippo route, right? This kind of feels like that with the startup. It's like, oh, here's a novice main character who is incredibly talented and has the right training for this particular sport. And then they end up getting a rival who they're going to focus on for a long time, and eventually she's going to go pro. Are we really going to be seeing her train more, enter more tournaments, eventually go pro? And maybe when she goes pro is where you end it. But then even at that point, that's not really that far down the line, right? From where she's at, because if she really seriously trained more, she could easily go pro in a couple arcs, maybe do one of those, maybe she does join the MMA club, and then eventually like, oh, we need a coach. And then you start doing some of that slice of life stuff that's in sports mangas, and then eventually, oh, you introduce new rivals for our main characters, right? Or some other stuff, I mean, there was other buildup as well for fights that I kind of wanted to see. There was this whole big 3v3 thing going on with Natsuo, the MMA woman that goes to her gym and that woman's master versus, Natsuo's rival. I can't stick the name for some reason. Yuzuko with her best friend Ringi, and Ringi's father, Mario, who's never lost a fight in MMA. So there was some stuff there that I thought would have been interesting to see happen in a final arc. But yeah, maybe you do bring that more if you continue this manga further. And then, and then what? She goes pro, but that's already right there. That's a lot of stuff to really put into consideration to a manga where you feel like you're satisfied with its ending, So that's why I'm not too bothered by the ending, even though it does feel a little cut short. But then again, that's just me reading so much manga, and you kind of understand where things go. So again, props to the mangaka for deciding to stop early instead of going on this journey, this long journey, right? End of 2015, probably still would have been going now if they decided to keep going with this. But other than that, there's some interesting characters in here. There's some classic trope characters when it comes to just really any general manga based on character design. Example, there's this one character from the gym who's just becomes a background character who has some dialogue here and there, but you could tell exactly what her personality is based on just how she's drawn, because she looks like a cat, right? She has those cat eyes, and the way her hair is a little wavy, so you already know exactly what kind of character she's going to be. Some other milestones within this manga for Natsuo to climb above so she could finally fight this Yuzune girl. And those characters are also interesting on their own as well. You have her childhood friend who was in karate, and then you have this other woman in the gym who's actually been training MMA a lot longer than Natsuo even probably thought of mixed martial arts. And we just see Natsuo, use them to climb further with her talent that she has into basically just MMA. And other than that, I think, yeah, you should go read it. I think it's interesting. MMA is always one of those things where I'll check out here and there, but never really invested time in. And this, kind of helps you understand what's so interesting about it. And the way the techniques are drawn, especially with the grappling, is very clear and understandable, even without the explanations. So that's pretty good as well. I'm glad they did some good research with that. And yeah, go check it out. Again, it's not that big of a read, only 33 chapters. They're monthly length, so it's nothing too insane to read. And yeah, that's really all I have to say today, guys, for this manga. Thanks for listening as always. Remember, if you want to stay caught up with us, that's Unversed Podcast anywhere you go on social media. If you have any question, comments, concerns, unversedpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to hear your thoughts on Teppu if you're an MMA fan, or just mangaka in general, or a manga enthusiast in general, excuse me. And yeah, be looking out for our other podcasts, right? We have Marvel Talk. We'll be dropping some episodes soon. As well as Big Fucking Mood, BFM podcast. We're having some episodes come out here and there. Also, this should have been out after the main episode that just dropped, but if not, look out for a new segment on the show. It's going to be great, so be on the lookout for that as well. Again, thanks guys for listening, and enjoy the track at the end.
みんなよく聞け。今夜東京に気がついた。超確定は消せないファイヤー。気がついた東京逃げ場はないんだ。
ビルの片隅、街の裏通り、仲間すぐに集まれるから来れ。